How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I am rejoined by my guy, Drew Johnson. We were here to talk about that win in Utah last night, and then the Mavs, they turned back around. They faced the Portland Trailblazers on the second night of a back-to-back in Portland, shorthanded per usual. That's been the theme for the Mavs so far this early season, unfortunately. But as we've seen several times over the last couple weeks, the Mavs still got the job done. They ended up winning in Portland 137-131, absolute barn burner of a game. It was very stressful. Luka Doncic did return from his, multiple game absence due to a wrist sprain. He came back, and look, it took him a little while to get going offensively, but he ended up with 20 points in the first half, and he finished with 36 points, 13 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and shot 15 of 24 from the field. So, and hit 4 of his 10 threes. So Luka, he didn't look very rusty by the time this game ended.
No, he looked excellent. But I'm gonna tell you, we say that he took a little while to get going in the first. And, from a scoring perspective, that may be true, but I thought he did a wonderful job of getting everyone involved. I mean, he
Yes.
had like 7 assists in the first quarter. That's outstanding. So,
Which is what we wanted to see, right?
yes,
we wanted
yes.
him to see him. We wanted to see him get his guys going the same way that Kyrie's been doing over the past few weeks, and not force the issue. So that you're right. That's exactly what we wanted to see from Luka.
No, he did an outstanding job distributing, and he had 13 assists, but if we counted pass to assists, like the pass to the guy who's getting the assist, I would like to know how many of those. Yeah, hockey assists. I would like to know how many hockey assists he had on the night, because he did a great job of advancing the ball in the full court. A lot of our transition opportunities came from him just cannoning it down the floor. And other people would get the credit for the assist, but that whole sequence would be started by a Luka Doncic, full court pass. And he's one of the best, the absolute best in the league at throwing a full court pass. He's just so good at finding people in the open floor. So
yeah, and one of those assists, the biggest assist of the night, in my opinion, from about the let's see, I'm looking at the box score here, from about the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter to less than a minute. From the 154 mark to the 54 mark. So for an exact minute of playing time in the fourth quarter toward the end, in the last 2 minutes, the score was tied at 127. Both teams missed shots. Luka missed a 3. Jeremy Grant missed a shot. But then the ball movement was great, and Luka got the ball to PJ Washington in the corner, who, he had to pump fake it first to get Jeremy Grant to fly by. And then you had the Portland bench all in his ear, trying to make him miss. And he swished a corner 3 to give the Mavs a 130-127 lead, and they never looked back from that moment. So that was the biggest moment in this game, I think. But there's a lot of flowers to go around. Luka was great, but there's a lot to look at, because the Mavs didn't have Kyrie Irving in this game. They didn't have Klay Thompson again. They didn't have Dereck Lively, and they didn't have Naji Marshall. So a lot of firepower and a lot of defensive prowess that was not out there tonight. But all 5 starters scored in double digits. Luka led the way with 36. Quentin Grimes had a season high and a Mavs personal high, 28 points, to go with 5 steals. And he had 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Quentin Grimes has been outstanding here lately. Just 20-point games every time you turn around.
He's really kind of turning into what we thought he could. He's really returning to his former form whenever he was with the New York Knicks. He's incredibly dangerous, especially off the catch. Really good defensively. You would like to see him make some better decisions in the open floor, but overall, I think he does a really good job, and he's at his best whenever he is absolutely aggressive as hell. So, and whenever you deal with players that play that way, you take the good with the bad. You're going to
Yeah.
have some bonehead plays in the midst of playing your ass off. And I think that some of the senseless plays, I think that will kind of dissipate as time continues to go on because the guy's been on an upward trajectory since he suited up. So there's really no reason not to believe that that aspect doesn't improve. But I can't say enough about Quentin Grimes. He's been excellent.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you look at Grimes, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here because I've mentioned it several times over the last several pods, but, he is like a more refined, more in control version of Josh Green. He's a much better version, complete version of what Josh Green was. He has the same level of aggressiveness and energy and spark and everything, but he's under control. He has a better jump shot. And he can, he's more skilled. And, that's exactly what Nico Harrison was looking for, when he went out and traded for him. So that's been great to see. Grimes has filled in nicely. Man, I just can't get over the fact that this team, despite all the injuries and after hitting that season low record of 5-7, they've now won 8 of 9, despite everything that's been thrown. Like this is some real character building stuff, that can help this team going into the rest of this season. So I'm very excited. He was the Mavs' second leading scorer. Grimes was with the 28 points. And then the other starters, Daniel Gafford continued to be awesome. 19 points in this game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists in 27 minutes. PJ Washington, 14 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, a steal. Hit 4 of his 6 threes in 37 minutes. And then Jaden Hardy, who you just talked about, last night, saying that this is the kind of game he could come back and turn things around after having just a horrible offensive performance. And he started out kind of rough in this one, but he really gave the Mavs a spark in the second half and finished with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and hit 3 of his 6 3-point attempts. So overall, good production from the starters. We'll talk about Dinwiddie's production off the bench, but first, what do you think about Jaden Hardy, and having his bounce back game, just like we talked about last night?
Well, it wasn't to the extent of what I said last night. He could go for 30 tonight, which, he could. But whenever he's scoring, he's incredibly effective. But there were some moments tonight where he actually looked like an okay playmaker. He actually made some pretty decent decisions with the basketball. And I think it's all about slowing the game down for him. And these young players, they just have such a hard time doing that right now. And even after years at this level, it still takes time for the game to really slow down for them and for them to be able to react accordingly to things that they are seeing. And I thought he did a much better job of that tonight, especially in a game as hectic as tonight's. I mean, it was
Unbelievable.
It was a shootout. I mean, it was an absolute shootout.
Look, you got to tip your hat to the Trailblazers because they shot nearly 60% from 3 in this game, 58.1%. And the only reason it dropped below 60 was because they missed their last 2 there at the end of the fourth quarter just to try and stay attached. But, man, I was – and look, Anthony Simons, he was God. Unbelievable. He scored like 24 or 25 points himself in the third quarter to keep the Blazers from getting blown out. And then when he came, but he had 5 fouls entering the fourth quarter. And then as soon as he came in with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, he got his 6th foul. So he didn't play for the remainder of the fourth quarter, but it didn't matter. All these other guys were hitting threes. Jeremy Grant was 2 of 3 from 3. Tormani Camara was 5 of 7 from 3. I don't know what it was about Camara and Luka, but every time Camara saw Luka in front of him, he didn't care if Luka contested or not. He was just letting it fly. and it was working for him. Simons was 6 of 8 from 3, and I'd say pretty much all of those came in the third quarter. And then Denny Advia, I can't pronounce his last name, but you know who I'm talking about. He had 2 of 4 threes, and then Rupert hit his only 3 of the night. So, I mean, look, you got to tip your hat to them. They shot lights out from 3. The Mavs, though, they weren't too far behind them. They shot 50% from 3 in this game. So, you know, they stayed attached. But, man, second night of a back-to-back, you're missing so many key players in Naji Marshall, Dereck Lively, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie. Yeah,
Kyrie.
the most important of them all.
Yeah.
You're missing all those guys, and you're playing on the second night of a back-to-back, and it's Luka's first game in, 5 games maybe that he's missed. And then you come out and get a win in a barn burner style of a game, put up 137 points. This is a feel-good win for the Mavs. I mean, I know people look at Portland and say, they're not that great. They're 8-13, but they had won 4 consecutive home games coming into this game, and we're playing really good basketball. So tip your hat to Portland and Chauncey Billups. You know, he had his team ready for this one, and they were shooting lights out, and it has to be disheartening for them, you know, to not come away with this win. But hey, the Mavs, they are rolling, and I can't wait till this team gets healthy, because there is going to be some fun stuff happen as we get closer to the end of the year and going into the second half of the season. And it'll be very interesting to see what this team does at the trade deadline, if they feel like they need to fortify this team, because the Maxey stuff came up once again tonight. It's just a pain to watch at this point. I'm not gonna pick on Maxey a lot tonight, though, because we all, you know, we know what it is now. I don't have to say the same thing on every single podcast for these listeners to come in and know my feelings on that. I did see some more Omax playing time tonight, and I will say that Omax showed us more in that limited playing time than Maxey did the entire game. So
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
I was very happy to see Omax get some minutes relatively early. Again, meaningful minutes. You know, he didn't do too terribly much. I remember him missing like a corner 3 or whatever. It looked good coming off. It just didn't fall. But his time's coming. I think
he got a steal.
Yeah, he did get a steal. And, you know, that's really his MO, is being a really good defender. And for obvious reasons, the guy is absolutely gigantic for the position that he plays. Offensively, I think it will come, but Kid needs to keep giving him time. Kid needs to keep giving him, you know, some clock out there, because that's really where he's going to develop. He's going to develop in game. It's not going to be in practice. It's not going to be in G League games. It needs to be against NBA competition.
Yeah, I agree. And look, his time isn't going to be right now, but like you said, and we mentioned this on the pod last night, it's almost like Jason Kidd listens to Mavs Step Back. I'm not.
I hope not.
yeah, because sometimes it's not real rosy on here, but we do it out of love. I mean, we don't just say stuff to say bad things about the Mavs sometimes when criticism is warranted. But, you know, I like to think that we're pretty fair about things when we bring it up. But anyway, Omax's time hasn't come yet, but I was glad to see him get some meaningful minutes. He only played 3 minutes, but, you know, he got a steal. His offense wasn't there, but, I mean, look, he went 0 of 3 in 3 minutes. Maxey went 0 of 5 in 27 minutes. Like, he's just still not giving you anything offensively.
Mm-mm.
But Maxey did have 7 rebounds, so I guess that counts for something. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. On the other side of this, we got to talk about Spencer Dinwiddie, because he is continuing his unreal play on not just scoring, but like passing. His vision has been incredible. We got to talk about it, but first we got to pay a few bills. Hang with us. What's up, y'all? We're taking a quick break to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code STEPBACK to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code STEPBACK on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, so we are going to talk about Dinwiddie, but I want to set this up for the people listening who want to hear it again, or maybe they didn't watch the game and they want to know like how this went. But at the end of the third quarter, so Simons was outrageous. He ended up getting the Blazers a 3-point lead. It felt like, the Mavs were losing momentum. And then Quentin Grimes just went off. The Mavs were down 93-90. Grimes hit a 11-foot jump shot. And then, 30 seconds later, he hit a 3 to put the Mavs up 95-93. And then Spencer Dinwiddie got a few free throws, and Grimes hit a buzzer-beating 3 to give the Mavs a 100-97 lead heading into the fourth quarter. And then, to start the fourth quarter, and Luka was on the bench when this happened, Spencer Dinwiddie decided enough of this foolishness. He was taking over this game. He started out in the first 30 seconds of the fourth quarter. He hit a huge 3. And then he had an assist to Dinwiddie. He had an assist to Jaden Hardy right after he hit that big 3. Then he hit a layup. Then he had another assist on an alley-oop to Powell. It was like that assist that he had to Kyrie in Utah, where we're just like wowed by his vision. It was the same type of play from Dinwiddie to Powell. And then he hit another 3 to put the Mavs up 112-101 with 9 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. So, after that point, Shaden Sharp and Kamara and, other guys, Denny Advia, they kept the Blazers attached, but it was that push by Dinwiddie at the start of the fourth quarter that really set the Mavs up to win this game. And in his 34 minutes off the bench, he ended up with 20 points, had 5 assists, 2 steals, and he shot 5 of 9 from the field and hit 2 of his 4 threes. And, probably most importantly, he was a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. He was actually getting to the line, and he finished all of his free throws. So, Dinwiddie took over in a Kyrie role. And that's where my mind was watching him in that fourth quarter. I was like, oh, this is really nice. Kyrie is out, and Dinwiddie is, stepping into his shoes a little bit. And this is something we've seen from Dinwiddie in the past, especially during his Mavs stints. He has a knack for showing up in big moments. At least he did for Dallas. And, after he had that stinker in Miami, he took a lot of flack. And, it was justified, but he has bounced back in a big way. And I'm so proud of Dinwiddie, man. He has really cranked it up. I think that Miami game lit a fire under him. And I hope that fire, continues on throughout the rest of this season and leads to something special down the line. But he was incredible. What did you think about Dinwiddie?
Well, I think Dinwiddie is absolutely fearless, honestly, in the way that he plays. He's so, I guess the word is volatile in the way that he plays, such high energy. He's going to continue to attack no matter what. And sometimes that gets him into trouble. It's kind of like the Quentin Grimes thing. Whenever you deal with these hyper aggressive guards, they're going to make spectacular things happen, but also sometimes, you're going to be left with, your a turnover pretty much. So, I think that Dinwiddie's a little bit more seasoned in that regard. And I think that he did take that Miami game personal, but he's been outstanding the past few games. Now those passes that you've been referencing, he did a really good job, or he does a really good job of seeing over the defense and seeing that backside help, specifically around the backside short corner. And our bigs, Powell and Gafford, both did really good jobs of sealing off that backside guy, and he was able to get an easy lob over the top. And he did that, I want to say, 2 or 3 times tonight.
Yes.
So it just having that kind of vision and having the guts to make that kind of pass really says a lot. But it's nice to have a third guard who can come in and make big time plays and keep you afloat in the fourth quarter, in crunch time, whenever your 2 best players, one's hurt and the other one's on the bench. He can keep you afloat. And actually, I mean, there was a period of time where they built that lead up to about 7 or 8 points, that little unit that Dinwiddie was in. So, that's a real luxury. Once we put all the pieces together, this team has the potential to go far, I think. I think we're incredibly deep, especially on the perimeter.
It was just so nice to see, because, I mean, Luka, for him to have not played in a while and to come back and have 36 points and 13 assists, that was great. But, like, the winning plays in the last minute of this game had nothing to do with Luka, except for the assists that he gave to P.J. Washington on that corner 3 I referenced earlier that put him up 130 to 127 with 54 seconds remaining. But from that point on, so immediately, like 5 seconds after PJ hit that 3, Denny Advia, that's how I'm going to say his name, made a layup because he was just taking it to Dinwiddie. And Dinwiddie was frustrated. He was getting pretty, emotional, and they were jawing at each other. And then after Denny hit that shot, they were running up court, and they called the refs called an offensive foul on Spencer Dinwiddie when it was so obvious that Denny had hooked Dinwiddie's arm before Dinwiddie pushed off. Like, that's the reason Dinwiddie pushed off, and they took way too long reviewing it, in my opinion. It was clear as day from the replay, but the kid did challenge it, and he did win that challenge because it was so obvious. And so they changed the offensive foul to a defensive foul on Denny Advia, and Dinwiddie got 2 free throws and made both of them to give the Mavs a 132 to 129 lead. And then on the very next possession, Quentin Grimes stole the ball from Shaedon Sharpe and then made a pass to Daniel Gafford for a dunk that gave the Mavs a 134-129 lead, and then that was the game pretty much. Yeah. Quentin Grimes put the final touches on it with 3 more free throws, and that was it. So, you look at it, P.J. Washington hit a big 3, Dinwiddie with some huge free throws, Gafford with a dunk, and Quentin Grimes with, some a steal and some free throws to end it. It's great to see this team finishing games like this without Luka and Kyrie having anything to do with it. So it makes me feel things, DJ. I feel tingly. Hopefully that's what the tingly is. It's the Mavs making me feel that, and not Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yeah, exactly.
Hopefully it's Mavs tingles. So, but yeah, I'm super excited. The Mavs. Let's see. They're now. They're tied in the game's back part with the Golden State Warriors in the West standings, but the Warriors are still in that 4th spot because they have 1 less loss. They're 12-7. The Mavs are 13-8. But the Mavs are 2.5 games back of the top seed because Houston beat OKC tonight. Yeah, they did. Houston beat OKC. So the Mavs gained a game on OKC, and it's right there for the taking. I mean, 21 games in, you're 2.5 games back. It's looking good. It's looking good for the Mavs, and I'm very excited to see what they do from here because we talked about it on the last pod when we were looking at the schedule. Memphis is going to be very tough on Tuesday, But if you can find a way to beat Memphis, and I'm assuming, Kyrie Irving's probably going to be well rested. He's probably going to come back for that game. But you get Kyrie Irving, Naji Marshall, possibly Dereck Lively back, and then we'll see what happens with Klay too. But if you become, if the Mavs all of a sudden become fully healthy for that game and they win it, then you look and it's like, man, they play Washington, they play Toronto, they play the Clippers twice, they play Portland again, this time at home, and then you play a struggling Minnesota team on Christmas. Things are, the Mavs can really stack some wins here, and by the time we get to the end of December, the Mavs might be at the top of the West. So, we'll see how it goes for them, but things are looking up right now, and I'm very excited. This team winning 8 of 9 games was not on my bingo card after how the vibes felt when they were 5-7 after an embarrassing loss to Utah a few weeks ago. So I'm happy, but that's going to do it for me on this episode. Do you have any closing remarks before we take off here?
Listen, guys, this is not in any way related to basketball. This is related to Thanksgiving. Something was brought to my attention this past Thanksgiving. Someone brought this dish in, okay? And I don't know if you guys know what boudin is. And if you don't, you need to go look at it. But it was this like stuffed boudin Wellington thing. It's like a pastry, but with boudin in it. And it came with like a pepper jelly that after you slice it, you put the pepper jelly on top of it. Oh,
was the person who brought this from Louisiana?
No, she's not. But she like, did all the research on it and stuff. I asked her where she got this recipe, and she apparently follows like a TikToker, like a Cajun TikToker that shows all these recipes. I don't know. I'm gonna have to, figure out who that is. But
if you find that recipe, you need to send it to me. That sounds like deep in the heart of Louisiana. That's screaming Louisiana.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I ate half a loaf by myself.
I do love me some boudin. It's the sausage of the Southern gods.
It was incredible. If you haven't had boudin, go have you some boudin and then come talk to me and we can talk about this recipe, because it's honestly it's been on my mind. It's really been on my mind. So we just spent
a lot of things have been on my mind too, food wise and on my stomach. And unfortunately, back to reality tomorrow as we I have to go back. I have to start getting up early again tomorrow, and I have to start purging myself of all the food and probably gaining 10 pounds over the last week. So, it's going to hurt, but it's time to get back on track so I can do it all again at Christmas here in a few weeks.
Not as bad. Christmas isn't as bad.
Yeah, it's not as bad. Thanksgiving is the food Super Bowl, and then Christmas is a little more tame. But you still have the multiple gatherings for that.
No, so. I felt like I was in danger of gastrointestinal rupture on Thanksgiving. I don't think it's going to be the case Christmas. It really shouldn't be. The food isn't as good. It just isn't.
Yeah. Hey, my favorite thing about Christmas is people always make those Oreo balls, where they crush up the Oreos and they like mix it with cream cheese and they coat it in like a white chocolate or something. So it's like I don't know. If you've had them, you know what I'm talking about. But if not,
my mother-in-law makes like a whole variety of these things. She calls them cake balls. She has like an Oreo version. There's like a strawberry cheesecake one that she does that should be illegal. There's like a whole bunch of different ones that she does. And you know what? That may be an underlying reason why I'm type 2 diabetic. And I try.
You can. They're very dangerous. You can get yourself into
damage with those things, dude. Like serious damage.
Oh man, we're gonna have to start doing outtakes where all we do is just talk about different food stuff, because there's so much more we could pour into this, like different recipes and stuff we've had over the years and stuff we've done personally over the years. Like we're going to have to tell our listeners about our Chinese takeout story that one time. That was pretty crazy. Okay. But anyway, I'm not getting into that this time because I got to go to bed. But But we appreciate it, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your, well, it's really going to be Monday morning by the time this hits your feeds. But we hope you have a great week. We will be back on here to talk about Mavs Grizzlies, and hopefully that goes the Mavs' way. And we're talking about a 9th win in 10 games. And then at some point, when there's more than just, 1 day difference between the Mavs' next games, we're going to try and squeeze in a pod about looking forward to the trade deadline, which is still, 2-3 months away, 2.5 months away. But we're going to start putting together lists, and, we're actually going to study this and have some stuff to talk about to where it's not just a side point on a podcast. We'll have a full pod that's fully Mavs trade related. So I'm sure people will love that. We appreciate it, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.